I was wondering if you might recognize a girl in this photograph?
¿Qué carajo estás haciendo aquí? ¡Lárgate, cabrón!
Sorry to have bothered you.
Freeze! I said freeze!
Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Big Toon, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. And in today's video, we are finally going to be reviewing Resident Evil 4 after a very long playthrough. We are finally done with the game. And even though this game was really fun, I'm happy that we are done with it because honestly, I'm going to talk about this later on, but it does overstay its welcome a little later on in the game. But if you do want to play this game, you can play it on so much shit. So this game originally came out for the GameCube, and it was a GameCube exclusive. It was then ported to the PS2. And as of now, you can play it on shit like the Ouya, something called the Zeebo. But one of the main ways to play it is on the current gen consoles via backwards compatibility, on the Nintendo Switch and the PC. And like I said, you could play this shit on the Ouya Z-Box. You could just play this. This game was ported a lot. And those ports came with more add-ons, and like, the Mercenaries mode, Assignment Ada, and Separate Ways, and all that stuff. So, yeah, so like all my reviews, the first thing we are going to talk about is the gameplay, and the next thing that we are going to talk about is the story, and then we are going to talk about my final thoughts on the video and everything and stuff, because honestly, Resident Evil 4 is one of the most iconic games, and I know I keep saying that when I refer to like the Resident Evil franchise, but when it comes to it, Resident Evil 4 is the one that stands out the most, as it really paved the way for third-person shooters and horror games in general when it came to like the early 2000s and then like the early 2010s. This game paved the way for a lot that you see. I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, I'm pretty sure I read that Gears of War 3, which came out I think a year or two after this game came out, was their third person camera was inspired by this game. I'm telling you, this game is very iconic, but enough of that. Let's get right into this review.
Hasta luego.
Tell me, have you ever played a game like Gears of War, Batman Arkham Asylum, or any game that has an I cannot talk right now. Have you ever played a game with an over-the-shoulder perspective? That game most likely was influenced by Resident Evil 4's gameplay. I kid you not that Resident Evil has to be one of the most influential franchises to date. When it was the fixed camera angles, there were a lot of horror games that were copying the fixed camera angles. It was like the staple of horror games to have tank controls and fixed camera angles. When Resident Evil 4 came out, a lot of over-the-shoulder perspective games started to come out. And not just horror games, a lot of games were influenced by this. If you play a third-person over-the-shoulder game, it was influenced by Resident Evil 4. And it is amazing to think that this game influenced just an entire genre of just video games. And it's amazing too because this game is fun. The inventory system in this game, they do away with the inventory box, sadly. It's iconic and stuff, but the way that the inventory is set up here, it's a very iconic, and they even bring it back in the latest release because fans just love this game so much. The gameplay, it's really fun. It's the same thing over and over again. You shoot the enemies, you go over there, you knife them, shoot them, knife them, headshot. But it's a satisfying, like, it's the repetition is satisfying. I forget what it's called, the gameplay loop. It's a satisfying gameplay loop. A lot of games, when you go through the motions of the gameplay loop, you get tired of it very fast. But I will say, Resident Evil 4, this game does not. The gameplay is fun. The story stays too long, and we'll get to that later on. But this game is fun as hell. It's challenging. I know the difficulty in this game. It also has like adaptive difficulty where the game it gets harder depending on how well you do. So if you like are getting hit a lot, the enemies are going to stay away from you. And then if you are like killing a lot of enemies, the enemies become more aggressive and stuff. And that's not if you're playing on the professional difficulty, which is like it's a set difficulty. It's really hard, and like I have never played professional. Maybe I'll do a playthrough of that on my own time, but I've heard it's really hard and stuff. And then when it comes to side content in this game too, there is a lot. When it originally came out, I don't think there was just like the mercenaries mode, which is just like the side mode where you see how fast you can clear the stage of enemies, which they also did bring back in the latest release. And then it was in like Resident Evil 5, 6, and a couple other games, I think. But it's a really fun side thing. You can like if you like get like a you could get like an S rank on all like the stages, and you unlock like a special weapon. They have Assignment Ada, which is like it's a non-canon like Ada Wong, like it's just like a how fast you can complete it. I think it is. I'm not really sure what that is. But then you have Separate Ways, which is canon, and it's just Ada Wong. You look her perspective through like when she's like helping Leon and like everything throughout the game, because she's like responsible for like some things, like a lot of things in this game. And I forget, I think they have like a couple of other things though, but all in all, this game is fun, and I do recommend you go play it. Like I said, like later on in the story, it does drag on a lot because it's just, I'll talk about it when we get to the story, but it does drag on later on. But this game is fun as hell. I do recommend you play this. This is one of the most, I just can't get over how iconic this game is, and I do recommend you go play this game. I'm going to recommend you play all these Resident Evil games that we've played, because these games are fun, and it's just a good time to play these games and everything. But that's enough talking about the gameplay, because honestly, there's not much more I can say. This game is oh wait, there is some more I can say actually. This one also introduced like the melee combat system, which gets more expanded as the games go on, which is when an enemy is stunned, you can go ahead and run over there and like you can melee attack them and stuff, so to like, and it usually like affects like all the enemies in the area, so it's very good to clear like big areas when you are getting surrounded. Also the weapon upgrade system in this game, the merchant system in this game, it becomes a staple in almost every Resident Evil game later on, except for Resident Evil 7. But there are a lot of man, it's just, this game is just iconic, and I do recommend you guys go play it. But yeah, that's pretty much all that we have to talk about and everything. It's for the gameplay and stuff, it's just it's a good third-person horror game. It's very good. And this game, honestly, later on, the games start getting less and less scary. But Resident Evil 4 still holds, it's still very scary because the colors are very dull and gray. The castle is there's just, every aspect of Resident Evil 4, the monsters and everything is very creepy. Even the Lost Plagas is just one of the most creepiest, parasites or anything that we've seen in this franchise. But yes, that is enough of talking about this gameplay. Now let's talk about Resident Evil 4's wild ass story.
What a pleasant surprise. But I'm afraid it's Ashley we need. Not you, Mr. Kennedy.
If you don't need me, then get off my back, old man.
Did you say old man, Mr. Kennedy? It might come as a surprise, but I'm only 20 years old.
So you're just like all the others? A puppet of the parasites?
Surely you don't think I'm the same as those diminutive ganados. The parasites, las plagas, are slaves to my will. I have absolute control.
Well, I really don't give a damn. Rain or shine, you're going down.
now, like with all my reviews, I'm going to tell you guys that if you don't want the story spoiled for you, I do recommend that you just skip until the end of this video and see my final thoughts on the game. But if you don't care and you watch the entire gameplay that we did, which I do recommend you go do because these videos are all one after another. The story for Resident Evil 4 starts out very simple, which is the president's daughter gets kidnapped and Leon is sent to find her. Then you start to find out that Albert Wesker is there looking for the Las Plagas. And it's just a lot of batshit crazy stuff. Turns out that they want to infect the president's daughter, send her back so they have like a mindless drone. Leon and Ashley end up contracting the Las Plagas, and they have to rush to try and find a cure for it. And I'm pretty sure that the Plagas eggs hatch in like a day or two. So the entire game takes place in only like 2 days, I think it is. And all in all, the story for the first part of it is very good. But this game has a problem with letting Ashley get kidnapped. And I mean, it is a plot device when she gets kidnapped. And she gets kidnapped after you find her I want to say 4 or 5 times. I might be over-exaggerating or under-exaggerating. But she gets captured a lot after you find her. And after it reaches after the second time, honestly, where she gets kidnapped, it becomes old because it's just used as a plot device to keep driving the plot forward. You're at a point one time where you feel like the game should be ending and she gets kidnapped again, and it adds like it adds a whole nother like 2-3 hours onto the game that did not need to be there. And then there's the story is a little it's a little wacky at sometimes and shit, but it's a good old Resident Evil story. You just got to it's a good old Resident Evil story. And then as you start getting towards the end, I'm pretty sure you start realizing that the Los Illuminados, I think, have a certain connection to Umbrella. Like I think Spencer was like dealing with Sadler. I don't quote me on this. I think a lot of these cults like have ties to Umbrella through like Spencer and stuff, because he was really trying to find out, I think, immortal life, and he was using, I'm not sure. We get more Spencer lore, I'm pretty sure, in Resident Evil 5, but as of now, that's pretty much all we know, is that I think Los Illuminados was connected to Umbrella through Spencer. I think, I'm not sure, but anyways, my final thoughts on Resident Evil 4. Like I said before, the ending overstays its welcome. The game is around 16 hours long, and I think maybe 4 hours of that could have been cut down. There's a character you fight Krauser, and I believe that should have been just one single fight, but it like gets broken up into like he stays around for too long. And also he's really not introduced until like really like till the end of like the game, even though he's introduced like when you're like almost halfway through, and then he doesn't like encounter you until you're like almost done with the game, and then it feels like he's just like rushed up in there, and it's just, the ending could have cut out maybe 4 hours of the game and it would have been better. But the game is fun. I do recommend you go play it. You really don't play it for the story or really anything. I know some people do, but it's just Resident Evil 4's gameplay is where it shines. It is one of the most fun in the franchise, and it has influenced so many games beyond. It's just crazy how many games take from Resident Evil 4, and it shows why. When you play this game, it starts off slow when you play it, because I remember when I was younger, I was too scared to play it, and then I didn't play it because it just started off too slow. But now that I'm older and went through it, once you get past like the first hour of it, it really like takes off, and you really start going, upgrading your weapons, and it's really satisfying when your weapons start one shot. And there's a point where one pistol is like as powerful as a hand cannon, and once you upgrade it all the way, and I was like I was shooting enemies just one headshot and stuff. And then when you replay the game, you can unlock certain weapons like the Chicago typewriter, which is something that you can it's like a Tommy gun with unlimited ammo. Then I'm pretty sure they got like a Mega Buster. They have just a lot of guns up in this game that you can like unlock through side content. But like I said, I do recommend that you go play Resident Evil 4. It is one of the best games in the franchise. Really, I don't think really the only game that really compares to it probably is the OG Resident Evil remaster that came out, and maybe yeah, it's just, this game is good. I do recommend you go play it. It is just, it's a complete experience. All the side content too, the mercenaries and everything. You'll spend hours up on this game. But that is enough talking about Resident Evil 4, because we have been on this game for a while, and it's time to move on to Resident Evil 5. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this series playthrough of Resident Evil 4. And like I said, we're moving on to Resident Evil 5 finally. And I know there's like a DLC that we have to play for Resident Evil 5 too, just like the separate ways for Resident Evil 4. But that's enough of that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, this review. I hope you guys enjoyed all of Resident Evil 4. Hit that bell notification so you guys don't miss Resident Evil 5. And while you're on my channel, go ahead and go check out my Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart gameplay, some Guilty Gear Strive gameplay, if that's up. I don't know if it is. But anyways, I hope you guys are having a wonderful rest of your day. Peace out.